in order to be able to have more time to do politics, and I think that shows you the state of Parliament. So I'd like to welcome Tony. It's always a pleasure.
Like this, and my interest is always in the audience, because we've got 180 odd people here. If the average age is 25, it's about 3,000 years of experience. And what's interesting and important about this campaign is not just the points that have been made from the platform, but the fact that it interests you to come, that you influence other people. When you go away, you'll carry it forward. And this campaign in favour of justice and equality and full employment and the public services is a very powerful campaign. And we are not isolated little people who can be described as protesters. I hate the word protest, because a protester, as the word is used by the media, means you've lost the battle and you don't like it. Well, I don't believe we've lost the battle, and I do believe that what we have to do now is to organise ourselves, and so our meetings are quite different from that. We are here to demonstrate. We demonstrate what it is we want, what we think is wrong, and then go on until we make progress. And if you look at the world today, it's impossible to feel isolated. I mean, you look at Libya, for example, 42 years of a dictatorship, and now an opportunity to build a new country. If you look at the occupation of the capitals by people who say capitalism is in crisis, all over the world there are people protesting at that level, demonstrating at that level, and all these people are very like ourselves. They have their own single interest in their own survival, but they also have a sense of solidarity. And solidarity is the key of all success. I heard a wonderful definition of solidarity during the miners' strike. We had a group of American miners who came over to support the British miners, and one of them was talking about solidarity, and he said, I'll tell you a story about it. He said, in our pit village, we closed a pit, and a little boy fell down the pit shaft. And we all gathered round the pit shaft, didn't know what to do. We sent a rope down, and the little boy's voice said, it's too short. We sent another rope down, and still the little boy's voice, it's too short. Then they sent a third rope down, the longest we could find, and the little boy's voice said from the bottom of the pit shaft, tie your ropes together. And that is the argument about solidarity. Young people support old people, nurses support pensioners, pensioners support students, and so on. Then you do begin to build a movement that is capable of changing policy, because all great changes come from underneath. Don't believe that progress comes when some bright guy at the top announces his manifesto. It's when people at the bottom decide to do things that something happens. And my definition of the way progress occurs is very simple. If you come up with a bright idea, like, for example, 100 years ago, votes for women, well, they just ignored it. Then if you went on, you would start staring bonkers for suggesting it. Then after that, you became very, very dangerous. They locked you up, which they did with the suffragettes. And then it was successful. And then after that, you couldn't find anyone at the top who didn't claim to have thought of it in the first place. That's how progress occurs. You start at the bottom, think it out, campaign, get people together, and then the message permeates through to the top of society. And that's what makes me an optimist at the moment. And I think our greatest enemy is pessimism, the people who say, oh, everyone's corrupt, there's no point in trying, it won't work, they're all out for themselves, because pessimism denies people the feeling that they can make progress. And my opinion is that in every period of history there have always been two flames burning, the flame of anger against injustice and the flame of hope you can build a better world. And my job is to fan both flames. And I think that meetings like this tonight do have that effect. And listening to what was said about the universities and how they're being privatised and pared down and commercialised, and then listening to what's happening to the school system, you can see that all the great gains the public services made, and they were made by people voting and campaigning, they're all being deliberately destroyed and dissipated, and we have to recognise that we do have at our disposal certain powers which many people in the world would give their life to have. We do have the vote and political parties, and how we got all the gains we have were when people realised that even if you didn't have enough money to go to university or to look after yourself when you were ill, you had the vote. And the vote allowed you to buy with your vote what you couldn't afford with your cash. And what the vote is a substitute for the market. The market, everything is decided by money, but the vote is decided on the basis of population. And what the democracy does is to transfer power from the marketplace to the ballot paper and to the polling station, and that's how it was done. And if you put the justice case, which has been done tonight so clearly by the speakers, if you put the justice case, then you can interest people in doing what needs to be done. And that's what we're about. We're about in a very historic moment, because to have a meeting like this, for example, when there isn't a general election, is almost unheard of. And it is an indication of the commitment that you have, and it's that commitment that gives me the confidence to believe that what we can do, we will do, and that's how we have to go about it. But it does mean carrying information to people, because the media are not very friendly. And we've got the internet now, and we've got Facebook and Twittering and all the rest of it, which you'll know better than me, where you can pick up other bits of information, put it together, work out what to do, and then decide to do it. And when you do decide to do it, then I tell you the guys at the top get very, very nervous, because they don't quite know how to deal with it. They're not sure whether they're hovering on the brink of a revolution, or whether they are just able to put the big boots in and try to stop it. So whatever you do, never give up the confidence that we can win. Now I'm going to come below my minutes, because I've got a couple of minutes left, but I'd rather devote them to listening to the questions, and then I think that's what we're going to do next in the chair. Okay, right, well, thank you for listening.